My dear company officers, we have over 15 terabytes of sensitive data. This includes over 110,000 employee social security numbers, addresses and bank routing account information, over 7 million customer names, addresses, phone numbers, thousands of recorded phone calls and hundreds of financial documents, P&Ls, budgets, etc., going all the way back to 2007. We have all of your emails. 10 gigs of samples can be found at this link. You have two choices. You can transfer $500,000 in Bitcoin to this Bitcoin address. Once we receive the money, we will destroy the data we have. Or do nothing, and we will leak this data to top news publications, your competitors, the executives who work for your top clients, your employees and board of directors, and the dark web. We want to be clear. Our only motivation is money. We have no desire to leak this data. If you do not pay within 24 hours of the timestamp of this email, we will take that as confirmation that you do not care about your customers' privacy, and we will leak all the data. Do not attempt to bargain or threaten us. We do not care.
That's a real email. That was actually received by one of our customers. Now, if you're that client, how are you feeling after you receive this email? It's not a good day. It's not a good day. Especially it's Christmas Day and you've probably had a little bit to drink. You're with your family, right? 8 hours are already gone on this 24-hour timer. So we get engaged. So they called us, right? The client reached out to us, the Mandiant team they had worked with in the past, and we advised calling the FBI. We began responding immediately, and then of course we negotiated anyway. We have John Ford on our team who spent really decades with the FBI, has a lot of experience negotiating. A few of us have done it before as well, negotiating with threat actors, but we helped write the response. We spent about an hour drafting this response for the client to send.
Good morning, evening. It appears that based on the information provided below, you may be in possession of company information. We are interested in how you obtain this information and would be open to paying a security consulting fee under the following conditions. We receive a detailed description with proof of how this information was obtained. You agree to destroy all data in your possession and confirm you have not shared it with anyone. You agree that you will not attempt to obtain our information in the future.
So yes, as I mentioned, I changed some details to save the identities of the innocent. John McClane was not really the name of the individual responding, but it was on Christmas. So we spent about an hour writing this roughly paragraph response. Right? We chose the manager to write the response specifically instead of the C-level. That was a deliberate decision. We also tried to reframe it away from anything related to crime. Nothing was stolen. We're going to pay you a security consulting fee. We wanted to establish a collaborative relationship, right? The overall point here is that we want to work together with the guy, maybe get him some money, but ultimately we need to figure out if this is true or not. Now in the room, the CEO says, that's only $500,000. If I can spend $500,000 right now to protect all my customers, that's worth doing. But we actually talked them down from that. Said, if you do that, then what's to stop this guy from bragging on the dark web, hey, I contacted this organization and basically said boo, and they sent me $500,000. Right? So we had to talk them down from that and instead propose a strategy called engage and delay. Right? And of course we're negotiating anyway, just because he says we're not interested in negotiating. We're going to use engage and delay to try to buy ourselves some more time. We're going to try to learn what we can, both from an investigative perspective and from interacting with the attacker. FireAHX is deploying through the whole environment, as I mentioned. We're sweeping the enterprise using the historical IOCs, looking for any evidence of attacker activity. While we're writing this email, the client confirmed the data is indeed theirs, but they have no idea where it's coming from. It could be from countless different systems in the environment. We're on site at this point. They've notified their board of directors, and very importantly, they are requiring everyone, ourselves included, to sign a personal liability non-disclosure agreement. So if you're going to be read into this incident at the time, you had to sign this non-disclosure agreement. You could not share details outside of this room, really. Put yourself in that client's shoes. You're the CISO. Think about it. You've told the board of director, yeah, this data is ours. At least 10 gigs of it was ours. We don't know where it's coming from. It's somewhere in our enterprise, and we're being extorted for $500,000. We got a response from the attacker at 3:30 in the morning.
Mr. McLean, as stated, we are not negotiating with you. We shared a very detailed plan of how to have this data deleted and not shared. Only you have the power to have the data exposed or have it totally destroyed. We agree to your statements below only because we said this from the beginning. If we receive your payment by our deadline, we will share the details of our hack within 12 hours. We will share as much proof as we can, but we will remain anonymous. Here's some more sensitive data, so you know serious.
So yeah, by the way, this is word for word, so you know serious, not so you know we are serious. It's word for word. But interestingly, we now have 2 emails. A couple typos here and there, but overall, this person speaks pretty good English. It's definitely not someone who's using Google Translator or something similar. But it's 3:30 in the morning. We're still up. We're still working with the customer, and we're still going through the engage and delay strategy. So it's actually until the second day after we've been up all night on Christmas Day that we respond at 7:30 in the morning.
Thank you for your quick response. We take this seriously. Access to this much Bitcoin takes time. We're working to obtain 75,000 US dollars in equivalent Bitcoin, and we'll be able to transfer that amount by the end of business today. We request an extension of your deadline by 48 hours so that we can obtain the remaining Bitcoin. As a show of goodwill, in return for our initial payment of $75,000, we request specifics on how you obtain this information during our business day today.
So we're basically paying a little bit of money. We're trying to buy as much time as we can because we need to find where this is coming from.
Mr. McLean, we continue to tell you we are not negotiating. The price is fair for such hack that would damage your employees' and customers' trust in your company. The price is fair for such a hack that would give your competitors all of your training materials and financial data. The price is fair for such a hack that would expose your employees' bank account and SSN information. Good faith is us not exposing this data. We are being nothing but fair. We have agreed to give you the details of the hack, and we have agreed to destroy and not share the information we hold if we are paid. We have every intention of delivering, but it's up to you. We are not saying that again. Because you continue to try to negotiate stall, how about this? You send us as much Bitcoin as you can by our 24 deadline today. At that point, we will determine if your extension is granted or not. You can do way better than 75K.
We had 2 hours left on the timer at this point.
I appreciate your patience, and I understand that you are not interested in negotiating. Please understand that I am not experienced in paying extortion and am unfamiliar with the process of Bitcoin transactions. I manage an InfoSec team, and right now I'm feeling a lot of pressure. It seems like you have a lot of experience with extortion. How long does it usually take your other victims to meet these demands? What time pressures are you facing? Please understand that I am working to protect our data. That is my priority and commitment to you and my organization. It's my understanding they have issued an initial security consulting fee of $25,000 to the Bitcoin address. How can I understand if this is being done correctly and ensure we're protecting our data?
So to be clear, we don't yet have any findings still. We're 24 hours in to this, 30 minutes until this deadline. We have no findings. We have found nothing evil in this environment. We don't have any evidence of attacker activity. We don't have any evidence of malware. This was one of my favorite responses of the whole thing. It seems you have a lot of experience with extortion. This is the first time we called it what it was. But we are attempting to humanize. I'm facing all of this pressure. Why is it so important for you to get this done so quickly? The attacker responds.
So we received your payment. The process is simple. Your team simply needs to buy the Bitcoin and you send it to the addresses that we have shared with you. You have a worldwide billion-dollar technology company. All you have to do is exactly what your team just did until you send a total of 500K. Figure it out, Mr. McLean.
So that figure it out, Mr. McLean, it actually got the real Mr. McLean, pretty angry. He took offense to it. At the end of this, we bought him a shirt, and it just said, "I figured it out."
I'm doing the best I can with this. I really appreciate your patience. We're working to make another deposit. This is all new, and I'm under extreme pressure to show that this will end with our data protected. Can you help me understand how you came to have this data? That information will help with your security consulting fees.
Some of the emails are really small, like one sentence. It's now past 4 p.m., right? It's on the second day. The timer's expired by 4 hours, so we're already past the deadline. So if the attacker's going to do what they said and actually leak, this is when they would do it. But they've also received some money, and they know if they leak, they're not going to get any more money.
So we admire your childlike persistence. However, we are growing impatient with your company's incompetence. Here's a hint. One part of the hack was us compromising your own internal employees' usernames and passwords. Our team has written a very detailed essay of how we hacked you. We will send it to you as soon as we receive 500K. We will not share any more detail before we receive our full payment. You data will remain in our possession only as long as we get paid in full.
Before the end of the day, I was able to send another $15,000 in Bitcoin to the second address. I want to make sure you received it. I am under a lot of pressure to resolve this amicably. What can you give me to provide assurance to my management?
You committed to sending 75K today. You dropped the ball, Mr. McLean. Now you have to pay the price. The fee is now 750K. We expect at least 75K every day going forward until the debt is paid in full. Going forward, if you drop the ball, we will expose the address, phone number, bank account information, and SSN of 100 employees a day to the dark web, 1,000 sensitive customer records to your clients. No more communication other than payment confirmations.
Consider this from the CEO's perspective, who was originally fine with paying 500K, and now the price is 750. We still don't have any findings. All we have is a couple emails we helped the customer write. And now it's up another 250 grand. So they're not that thrilled at this point, but reframing it a little bit, 75K a day up to 750K, that just bought you 10 days. So we went from 24 hours, we just bought ourselves 9 more days to find where this is going on, and only have to spend 75K a day instead of 500K up front. One other thing we got from this is the difference between customers and clients, sending customer records to clients. In almost every IR ever, and I see a couple other Mandiant IR folks in the room, in almost every IR ever, on your first phone call, they say, hey, maybe there's an insider. And it's almost never true. Almost never true. This time, understanding the difference between a customer and a client, maybe there was an insider. This is the first time we kind of started thinking in that direction as well. Then just a separate small email was responded to again by the attacker.
Oh, also, I forgot to mention, we got the second payment.
I've been scrambling to get the money into Bitcoin. I was just able to issue another $35,000 for a total of $75,000 for today. Please confirm receipt to the third address.
Yep, got it.
We just sent another $50,000 for a total of $125,000 towards your $500,000 demand. Please confirm receipt.
Yep, got that one as well.
So we sent 50, not 75, as he demanded. We're extending this as much as we can, engage in delay, right? But the guy's still getting paid. He's gotten $125,000 so far, so they're not going anywhere. He's not going to publish this. And then finally, on the morning of day 4, we have a finding. Still no evidence of malware in the environment, but we did identify, going through their SIM logs, a large volume of data was transferred from an internal device to another internal device, right? Just a large volume of SMB data transfer. And the source of this transfer was a file share where a lot of this data could have been stored, right? So this is our first real thread to pull on, right? Because remember, the same data is everywhere in the environment, but this fits the time frame. We identified the user whose account conducted that transfer, and this user, she was pulled in to a room with 2 or 3 FBI agents, and they began an interrogation. Ultimately, they ended up deciding that she was not likely responsible for this. But at the same time, we're continuing to interact with the attacker.
I just sent over another $50,000 in Bitcoin. Please confirm it was received. I want you to know the pressure I am under. Management is asking for something to show good faith as we keep paying. You mentioned your team had written a very detailed essay on how you got this data. And one part of that was compromising our internal employee passwords. What essay excerpts would you share with me today to show our management that I am protecting our data?
Here's your excerpt. The hack has been going on for a long time after our team convinced former and current disgruntled employees to place ...
I just sent an additional 50,000. Please confirm receipt. I was able to get this one processed, but I need more. What additional excerpts will you share?
So it's now day 5, right? It's day 5, and we're continuing to pull on that thread of that data transfer, that investigative lead. And it was enough. We found evil and solved crime here. The SMB transfer was from a network share to an internal VPN IP address, right? So it was internal to internal, but it was a VPN IP. The asset that was assigned to this was a loaner laptop that when we checked the inventory, we saw it was missing. So someone had their hands on an actual company asset. The attacker was using a third-party VPN to mask their location. So they were connecting into a VPN and then VPNing again into the customer environment, except once, for a 30-second session from a residential provider. Now, when we talk about the importance, you'll hear, if you ever get in the room for a Mandiant proactive engagement, you're going to hear the importance of log retention, right? It's one of the key things that we'll always come back to. You know, at a minimum, you want to be retaining as much as our median dwell time, but a year is good practice. This organization had 60 days. We found one entry that was 59 days old of a user other than the woman's account that initiated this transfer, of a second user account that had logged in utilizing the same residential IP address. So we started looking into this user and found out that he was terminated about 60 days ago, 58 days ago. When we interviewed that person's leadership, found out, oh, he was a very disgruntled employee when he was terminated. At this point, we now have overlap. The FBI is en route. They start monitoring this individual as they work to try to obtain a warrant, right? And at the same time, we're continuing to negotiate. We're continuing to interact with them.
So your last payment is received. You will receive the details of the hack when the 500K is paid. Otherwise, you can choose to stop paying now and we will leak the data. Your choice. Our motivation is money only, but we will keep our word once the 500K is paid in full.
So it's interesting here that they're calling us careless after we found that login there. So it's very interesting. It's also, we never acknowledged the 750 grand. We've, in every communication, continued saying 500, and now the attacker's back to 500. It's the 5th day now, and there's been very little sleep. The room is actually starting to smell bad. We have discarded like pizza boxes in the corner. But spirits are starting to get a little higher now because we have a lead that we think is correct. Now, we're going back and forth with the attacker a few more times. We're only going to go through one more of the interactions, but it took about 3 or 4 more days. The FBI had to get the warrant, and then they put the person under surveillance, right? They're watching the person. They are also working with the person's ISP. We never really got full details there on what they were getting from the ISP and how and when, but they're starting to get pretty sure. And we start getting cryptic instructions from the FBI, like send an email right now and let us know when you did. And then they'd say no more communications until we tell you. So very, very carefully coordinated by them. They then tell us that they want us to make a mistake. Don't send 50K, send 5K.
I just sent another 50K. Please confirm. If you won't give me any more detail, can you at least remove the sample data from the drop site?
You did not send 50K, you sent 5. Send 50K today or your data will be exposed.
And this was a response at like 2 in the morning while the FBI is watching the guy, and they see him pick up the phone and angrily type and then ask us, did you get an email? And yeah, we did. And then presumably they were doing something with the ISP. They decide to move on the guy. Inside the house, they found the loaner laptop that was missing from the inventory. The loaner laptop was at that time connected to the organization. And there were 4 external hard drives with our client's data inside of it. We got them. Interestingly enough, we were able to get all of the Bitcoin returned to our customer. The Bitcoin had appreciated in this week, and the customer made money, including accounting for our hourly rate. The customer made money.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win all around.